Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Audrey Ronas-Tobin. I'm Director of Marketing at Co-Strategics, and I'm really excited to welcome you to today's webinar. ChatGPT is forcing the question, do you have an AI strategy? We wanted to make this webinar really conversational, so if you have any questions, please add them to the Q&A. We'll try and answer them as we go along, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of the webinar too. And also, just so you know, we are recording today's webinar, and yes, we will send you a link when it's posted, so you don't have to copy the slides or anything. You'll get a recording of the webinar. And now I'm really excited to introduce you to our speaker, Johnny Avant. Johnny is a data scientist at Co-Strategics. He works with organizations to understand their data, grow their analytics capabilities, and scale their operations. And in his spare time, Johnny dances hip hop and plays rugby. And now, without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Johnny.
Thank you, Audrey. Alrighty, so we have skipped to the agenda. We're going to talk about what conversational AI is, building it into your strategy in the form of different types of options you can choose from, how to build it into your pipeline, as well as at the end, stick around because we're going to do a use case fire round. So what is conversational AI? It's a technology capable of understanding, processing, and responding to human language. And it's a subset of machine learning, which is a subset that sits inside of generative AI, as well as conversational AI. So let's ask ChatGPT, a very popular generative conversational AI right now, what it would call itself. So if we were to prompt ChatGPT and ask it, who are you? It says, I am ChatGPT, a large language model developed by OpenAI to understand and respond to natural language input. My purpose is to assist and support users in various tasks and to provide a helpful and engaging experience. Pretty cool. Let's have a little bit more fun and let's ask it to tell us that again like Shakespeare. Oh, gentle sir and madam, I am but a mere creation of the finest mind in the realm of artificial intelligence. My name, if it pleases thee, is ChatGPT, a digital entity endowed with the vast knowledge and linguistic prowess. All right, so it can do some cool stuff, and that's pretty fun. So language models and ChatGPT are very popular, but the technology has evolved over time in the form of spell checkers with Microsoft Word. You have machine translation like Google Translate, as well as information retrieval in some of the earlier forms of search engines like Yahoo. Language models in this chart, this is just a way for us to kind of show you that the capabilities of language models are growing. So as the graph increases, you'll be able to see more and more language models that are learning more and more information, which correlates to the capabilities that they're able to do. So there are a ton of different conversational AI solutions available to you. We bucket them into three high-level solutions in the form of public solutions like a ChatGPT, Bing, or Bard. There's also software as a service where you can build your own AI solutions as a part of a software managed solution, and as well as platforms like Core AI and OneReach, which are available at your exposure to kind of build these custom data pipelines and AI pipelines for your use cases. So there are a ton of benefits to conversational AI, some of them including text generation, like generating social media marketing content, summarization, like highlighting news feeds, as well as intent recognition. So if you're in customer service, you can build a chatbot that can recognize sentiment. There are also various pitfalls of conversational AI. And so some of the things that it's not very good at currently are reasoning and planning and math. So the conversational AI can pass the bar, but it can't win a case for you. And so it has challenges with logic and reasoning because it's really, really good at recognizing patterns at the moment. So there are some security risks that we want to talk about with conversational AI, because at its core, they're plagiarists. A lot of the things that it comes up with are content that was previously generated So essentially, it copyrights a lot of what it knows while it's generating content. And oftentimes it can be unpredictable. So you want to make sure that when you are using these systems, that you're pairing it with technologies that can help you manage these dialogue flows. If you're using a public solution like ChatGPT, be careful that this knowledge that you input into the system becomes public domain, meaning when you ask it questions and you're giving it information, it then has the freedom to use that information to provide answers to someone else. So with some of these risks, there are others that are sometimes a little bit more controversial depending on who you ask. And some of those are the potential propagation of bias in what the chatbot learns, the conversational AI learns, legal rights to the content produced. So who has rights to what information was produced and what it was learned from, as well as there are a few big entities that own a lot of this technology. So it's important for us to be responsible with how we use the technology in our own practices. Let's move on to how to actually build AI into your strategy. It can sometimes sound like a very daunting task to take on, but we're going to walk through and make it super manageable for you. So if we talk about the system players and who's really important and what touch points are critical along the way, the businesses are involved in this cycle to identify market opportunities and use cases for the technology. Prompt engineers, which we'll get into a little bit later, they work for businesses by crafting these training examples to teach and support the customization of these models to your use case. Users get value from the models, as well as provide feedback to the businesses of the technology that's built. And AI development companies are really critical in building these cutting edge foundational models that are used. And so all of this creates this flywheel effect of opportunity and value that each touch point, each player benefits from. So when we build conversational AI tools, some of the important steps to keep in mind are to first access and assess your natural language processing use case and look at the benefits and risks. And from there, decide, do I want to license a platform tool? Do I want to customize my own model to my use case? And then how do I then incorporate that into my pipeline? So option one is choosing a model as a license option. And so the smallest option or chatbot or some of the public options are easier to implement. But when you look at larger solutions like enterprise product integrations, they're more robust with a feature that you can personalize, but they're more expensive to maintain. And all of these systems and solutions are supported by the foundational models like GPT and DALL-E. Another option to choose from is the subscription-based option. And so you have an option to either use tools that you can access through APIs from as-is out-the-box tooling, or you have the option to take some of these models and customize them to your use case. And so here's important to choose a vendor, whichever option you choose, that promotes and documents responsive deployment of these in production. So let's talk about customizing a language model. So what that means is you're taking a base model that was already trained on a bunch of information, and then you're just fine tuning and just adding a little bit of information to cater it to your use case. And so these are a couple options available to you through OpenAI to customize your models. And the difference between them are in size and in price. Language models are customized via prompt engineering, which is a process of designing a natural language input to guide a language model's response towards a specific task. So if we look under the hood at language models, what we see is language models learn a probability distribution over a sequence of words, which really in layman's terms means that it reads a lot of text and it learns the likelihood of words co-occurring, which helps it complete tasks like text completion and content generation. So if you see in the image on the right, the example says, language models learn that where are we going is likely to occur next to a word like going. And so that's what it uses to predict and complete and generate content and a whole host of these other tasks available. There are a lot of different generative AI tools available to you, like text to text, image to text, and text to audio. And we find that it's best practice to use a toolkit approach, which enables a high degree of customization, which is desirable when you're incorporating or integrating this into other business applications. So a toolkit approach is good for organizations with a unique business, end user, and integration requirements. As we walk through building an AI pipeline and turning models into business cases, let's look at how this hypothetical company uses the toolkit approach to enhance their workflow. So let's take Moody's. Moody's is a hypothetical mental health tech company, and currently their providers spend an hour in therapy and 2 hours on administrative activities per patient. And so their goal is to use AI to reduce their admin time down to 30 minutes. As we learn, generative AI is very impressive, yet unbounded and unpredictable. So by pairing with other tools, in this case, RPA, the models can be constrained to your business case. And so RPA in this sense is a business process automation technology, which is very good at mimicking human manual tasks, which lets you decide the specific workflows to execute based on your business case. Generative AI models supplement the provider's work. In this instance, Moody's is using generative AI to provide text summarization capabilities for transcribing notes. They're using capabilities like content generation to write follow-up email responses, and as well as utilizing this technology to converse with patients so they can then schedule future sessions. So this all makes sense, but like, how do you actually do this and how does it work in practice? So technically, what you want to start is by creating an Azure OpenAI service account to start your own private managed instance of these base models. This then allows you to then select desired models as APIs that service your use case. In this example, Moody's is using text-to-text type of models. They then customize these models to their data via prompt engineering, and then they expose the customized models as APIs to their users. Some tips for prompt engineering. Typically, prompts are, they expect a single input and then an associated output. So if you look in the example at the top of the screen, you'll see that if we're wanting to create a language model that can identify sentiment, what we want to do is we want to input overjoyed with the new iPhone. And our completion is where you identify the desired output or what should actually be responded based on that prompt. And so the completion is positive. So prompting is both a science and an art. So typical recommendation is that you provide at least 200 different specific examples that are relative to your use case. The more the better, but don't overdo it. These models are already very smart. And when you're creating these prompts, make sure that they are domain specific. If we go back to Moody's, Moody's wants to design this system that can supplement a lot of the admin work for the providers. And they create this AI pipeline that allows them to schedule. And so what's really important to note here is that oftentimes you already have the data available to train these models. And the models, in this case, the models don't know your schedule. So what you're really doing is with this toolkit method, you're creating these prompts that teach this AI system how to generate code that can then be used to query your database. So what happens is your prompt engineers create prompts. And for example, you'll see at the bottom, find an hour opening in my calendar next week after 12. And you provide a sample output of what should then query your database of your calendar to respond back to that user. So this workflow looks like you feed the AI with prompts of examples of how to find openings in your schedule. You then feed those into your database and your knowledge base, and it returns to that user options available to them. So with minimal effort, you can take roughly 200 examples and you can produce a system that allows you to go from conversation with this AI system all the way through finding and querying when there are availabilities. So same can be said for treatment recommendations. And with treatment recommendations, you don't need and you don't want the AI system to memorize the clinical options available to them. But what you want them to do is you want them to be able to understand and extract the important pieces necessary to then find that information. And that's really what it means to incorporate AI into your pipeline, is by allowing these systems to understand this rich context within which then they can use to then better source the information within your current workflows. So by Moody's supplementing a ton of different capabilities and activities that the providers would normally do manually, they were able to do three things. They were able to increase efficiency, reach more people, and increase revenue. And this is really important because a lot of what AI is meant to do is to enhance and to improve current processes that we have currently existing, which then leaves us to then reallocate and resource differently. Moody's did all of this while still maintaining the same standard of care, which is super important. Let's look at some other examples of prompting. So if you're looking at content generation in the e-commerce domain, let's see, the prompt says, item is a handbag, colors army green, price is mid-range, size is small. And then what you do is you create an ideal response to that particular use case. And so regardless of what your use case is, keeping the prompts and completion specific goes a long way to customizing the solution to your use case. We look at another example. If we are wanting to detect fraud in different email accounts, rather than trying to create this custom from scratch fraud detection model, we can utilize these generative AI models to simply input existing known fraud anomalies that we have in our current system, feed it to this generative AI, and it will quickly learn how to classify whether an email is fraud or not. All right, the use case fire round. So we're going to walk through a few examples of instances where generative AI has come in and improved workflows and improved efficiencies. So we'll take a construction company. Construction company checks for safety violations by flying drones over sites to check for missing personal protective equipment. And so they utilize an image to text model to capture instances of potential violations and then generate reports in natural language back to site leaders so that they can improve the site location so that they make sure that safety is important. A staffing agency. Staffing agency wants to pre-qualify or shortlist candidates. So they use a virtual assistant with conversational AI to assess candidate skills and expertise by asking them relevant questions. And so this is important because the staffing agency has a normal script or dialogue flow that they currently use. And their pipeline is increasing to the point where it's difficult for their staffing agency to maintain all those conversations. So by using the virtual assistant can maintain these contextual and rich understandings of what's inputted by the candidate and use that to better select the response based on your structured dialogue flow. So this is a way for them to qualify candidates without having to worry about the unscripted or unpredictable nature of this conversational AI system. Hospitals. Hospitals are looking to do medication management. So they develop a medical management app to understand patient intent via chat, and then channel these conversations through a scripted dialogue flow. So imagine you're a hospital administrator and you want to remind patients about taking medicine. You want to collect information about side effects. You can utilize conversational AI to talk with patients, those who you want to help with medication management, and you can collect this information without needing the AI to know everything about medicine, everything about your practices. What they're doing is understanding the language input and then providing that as a response to your pre-scripted dialogue flow. E-commerce company. So in e-commerce company, you have a ton of users buying and selling goods. And at times you might have a need where a seller or buyer wants to contact customer service. So you use conversational AI to do support ticket triaging. And what that means is you use conversational AI to analyze support tickets and identify the nature and severity of the issue. Then you can prioritize the tickets based on urgency to allocate resources effectively. And so this is a really good way to be able to effectively churn through a lot of different customer support tickets, which when you're an e-commerce business, a lot of it comes down to your brand and the value and what the customers think of you. So if you can provide a system that can quickly cater to your customers, you're winning. Transportation industry. Transportation industry uses generative AI to do order tracking and fulfillment. So they provide customers with real-time updates on statuses of their orders to reduce customer inquiries and improve the overall customer experience. And so there are already existing workflows of being able to show your package along the delivery process. But by using and layering conversational AI on top, you can allow your customers to talk to this system to ask questions about potential delays, about things that they might need to be aware of so that you can improve that overall customer experience. The cybersecurity industry is really important. And so they use conversational AI and generative AI to qualify to do quality assurance. So as a company, as a business, it's important to validate code that's pushed to either repositories or that are used to query your database. And so by using generative AI, you can validate this code before it's run to protect your system utilizing an enterprise platform tool like GitHub Copilot. So at Co-Strategics, if you're looking for any help or guidance on getting started in this conversational AI journey or doing any other steps, we'd love to hear from you. Co-Strategics is a strategic technology consulting and implementation company that bridges the gap between technology and businesses. Our services include strategic technology consulting, digital platforms, modernization, data and intelligence, and innovation and product development. Here are some of the examples of how Co-Strategics has helped our clients use their data to drive different decision-making. If you're looking for guidance on how to mature your data and intelligence capabilities, we can help you leverage best practices from standing up a cloud data warehouse through custom AI development. The real benefit of working with Co-Strategics, though, is the partnership that we bring for co-innovation. We work with your team to deliver speed and value on your data projects. With that, just want to thank everyone for being a part of the webinar. And Audrey, did we have any questions along the way?
Actually, we do. We had a couple of questions come through here. The first question here is, You said that the language models are plagiarists at heart. How do you minimize the potential copyright risk?
Good question. So yes, the language model learns a ton of content from previously existing creators. And so a way to minimize this plagiarism or this copyright is to utilize the language model's capabilities of summarization and generation and intent detection to then better inform other systems on how to respond, and then always making sure to check and validate the output of the model before letting it respond. And so by bounding this AI system within the constraints of your business case, you can help minimize those risks.
Great. This is another question. It says, say you customize your own language model. Can you upgrade it? Do you have to retrain it? And can I just use the same data that I used before for retraining it?
Yes. So short answer, yes, you can upgrade it. The downside is currently, in order for you to update from, let's say, from GPT-3 to GPT-4, you would have to refeed the prompts that you gave to ChatGPT-3 to ChatGPT-4. So the benefit of upgrading is that models are constantly learning new information. They're constantly gaining new capabilities. So by keeping and storing the same prompts that you had originally and just retraining the same model can, I guess, exponentially grow what you're capable of doing for your business use case.
Okay, the next question is, how many people do you need to customize a language model? How many prompt engineers does that actually take?
So I would say for more simple use cases like summarizing news feeds, generating marketing copy, you could get away with it of a team of 2 to 5 people. So it's very manageable for current ecosystems and businesses to employ this technique into their language models.
Okay, and then I think this is the last question here, but it's what resources are needed to build the language model into a pipeline?
So like we talked about earlier, definitely having the team in place. So that's the business prompt engineers. Those are 2 of the critical components. So identifying your use case. After you identify your use case, then it comes down to integrating that solution. So typically, a lot of businesses are capable of integrating this solution into their own practice, but by utilizing a business like Co-Strategics, they can also be a part of that integration platform solution option. So resources are typically IT experts who understand how to integrate these types of solutions into your current workflow. And then the prompt engineering is a collaboration of your subject matter experts or your users of your use case, as well as your IT department.
Great, well, it looks like those are all the questions that came through. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Johnny or me if you have any further questions, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Johnny.